Hello, welcome to the podcast, Andrew Freed. We are so honored to have you as a guest on our show. And you have been a multi Emmy award winning filmmaker. You are the CEO and founder of Boardwalk Pictures, which is behind some of the biggest hits on Netflix these days, including Cheer, America's Sweethearts, Val, and the new Charlie Sheen, among many, many other films. And just success after success, pushing the unscripted platform. What do you see as a good story? Like, how do you find a good story? Because you seem to be doing that over and over again.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here and to talk to you guys about this stuff. And it's nice to see you, Jen. Sean, it's nice to meet you.
Hey,
But
nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Jen and I, we've been doing this, or we used to do this a lot more, but a long time. Anyway, what is a good story? More and more right now, I'm definitely a storyteller. I think of that as my profession. But as you list all these very fancy things about me, which I'm nice, I appreciate you. I'll send that to my mom. But I think I used to be something slightly different than what I am now, which is I'm sort of like a sandbox builder. And so I'm looking for opportunities and people and situations to throw into those sandboxes. And then more often than not, I don't get to play in them. I used to, and I still maybe I'll pop in for a second and then dust off and have to go off somewhere else. But yeah, so in terms of what makes a great story, it varies, right? It's like what makes an awesome friend. I don't know, every one of them is different. It can be something different for each thing. I think we've had a lot of good fortune in the sports space as an example, because there are so many cheat codes that's inherently built into sports. We're always going after things that are the most real, the most authentic. We want to find things as authentically as they are in their natural environment where we don't have to do much to them to serve it up to an audience. And so in sports where there's a ticking clock, where there's zeros on a scoreboard, where someone's being carried off the field either on a stretcher or on the shoulders of someone in triumph, or just those naturally occurring timelines and stakes make for great story. Great characters make for great story, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing. So all to say, it's different for each project, but it's like the Supreme Court said about porn. You know it when you see it.
Well, Andrew, I have to say, I've worked with you in many projects with Radical Media back when you were in the sandbox and the producer and the director, and you're an excellent, excellent storyteller. I've always enjoyed working with you. And on sports shows, we did lots of sports shows, like Fast Cars and Superstars.
I was talking about that today. I was talking about that show today. I promise you.
Really? What would you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were just talking about, honestly, I was talking about John Cena.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And he came up in conversation, and it's a testament to, how long and winding our journeys are in this business, that was a pretty random 3-day shoot in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2007. But today I had a very different conversation about John Cena in a very different context. And I only have the nicest things to say about him because, almost 20 years ago now.
That's so crazy.
Of how, what a class act he was. Yeah.
Sean, and just to give you context, we had celebrities. I don't remember how many. It was Serena Williams,
12.
William Shatner, John Elway, Laird Hamilton, Tony Hawk, Jewel, Cena.
You remember a lot of them. This is awesome.
And then we had them. We paired them with the NASCAR young guns, the drivers, and the celebrities had to learn how to drive the NASCAR. as fast as they can. And there was like 100 people. It was so much chaos. And I think you had like a bullhorn or something, Andrew, and you were just like, everybody over here. And it was just like, it was so fun. I remember that
Well,
show.
it was back in the day, right, where we were just sort of figuring all this stuff out, and there's a fun to that. And yet it was converging at a time where like lots of money was being poured into these types of
It
projects. And
was
so
so much money.
we were
And it was
working
for
with
like,
Michael Davies. We were working with Michael Davies on that. Michael Davies is, a big executive producer, obviously, but um, he sort of said to us like a week before we were going out to shoot the show, he was like, yeah, all this stuff you're shooting during the day can't really go in a TV show that happens at night. And we were like, what are you talking about? He's like, when you turn on a show at 8:00 on ABC, it doesn't happen during the day. It happens. It has to happen at night. It has to be like live from Lowe's Motor Speedway. Like it, and we were maybe a week is overly dramatic. Maybe it was like 2 or 3 weeks out, but we did need to re-engineer this entire thing just as we got down there. And so the bullhorn that you're talking about
I remember the
is
bullhorn.
that at the last minute, we're like, we need people here. Like, now, granted, we're not going to fill a 160,000 seat stadium. But and this was back in 2007, by the way, just to like put it at a place and time. But we need people here. So we built like high school stands right by the
Oh,
pit where
yeah.
like maybe 200 people sat. And then those people sat there and they were like, somebody's got to tell these folks what's happening and what they need to clap for. And they're like, Freed, get on there. And so I'm just like, all right, everybody, welcome, and doing, and
I totally remember that. It was shoot, it was just, there were so many moments like,
How'd that show do?
yeah.
that was every project has different ways that it can win for the people who are the stakeholders in that project. So that was something that we did with Gillette, that they spent a lot of money for. It aired adjacent to the NBA Finals on ABC. And honestly, because it was in the visual language of NASCAR, their brand was all over this, and they were wearing Gillette uniforms. Because what we realized, or it's funny, this is the project we're talking about, but it's worthy of the time.
So
but like,
funny.
but I do talk about it because what we learned then, because I was all about like the branding can't be over the top. Like we need, right? It was all like these tasteful branding conversations. And then you get the first mock-up of what these cars and uniforms and helmets are going to look like. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like it's like it's unrecognizable without all the brands. And so it's like we got to get how many different versions of the Gillette logo can we put on these cars and so you learn. Now I use it as a metaphor. I'm like, yeah, it's like NASCAR without the brands. It doesn't make sense. But
I just, that show, I was just so fun. But one of my favorite moments too was we had William Shatner, who's like amazing and so funny. I knew he wasn't going to win, but he's this great guy. And the PA, the production assistant that we had, was a total Trekkie. Did you know this?
No, I
the
had
guy,
so many things that I
oh,
came pretty close to having a nervous breakdown that week, I think. It was such a crazy, they like locked us out of the track at some, it was, you have imposter syndrome in this business a lot. And that was one of those weeks where I was just like, am I in charge of this on some level? And that didn't seem ready for that. But anyway, so I did not know that the PA was a big
the
Trekkie.
PA
But
was a big Trekkie. And, so we would set up the camera and do the interview with William Shatner, and the production assistant would stand there with his Star Trek shirt on, kid you not, straight in front of William Shatner. It was just like, hi, I'm here. And I was like, really? Do you really have to do that? And William Shatner just never gave him the time of day, never looked at him, didn't even, he just was like, I've seen a million of you.
well, so it was a big shoot, right?
So
We had
funny.
like 300 people working on
Oh
it.
my gosh, it was
Crazy.
insane.
Wow.
It was like, anyway, that was so fun. But I
I had
have
a golf cart. I had a golf cart with my name on it. I remember thinking that I had arrived. Like, all kidding aside,
Yeah.
it was like pre-iPhone, like sending pictures to people. But I remember just like, wow, I have a golf cart with
I
my
made
name
it.
printed on a piece of paper. Like, it's not even written. It was major for me. Major.
You've made it. You've definitely made it
Yeah,
when you
You
get the
have.
golf cart.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But sports. So do you have oh, by the way, speaking of logos and labels, I don't know if you noticed my shirt, but
I
I
do. I
I
do. I
I
hadn't, but thank you for
I was I
yes.
was like, is this cheesy that I wear like kind of a cowgirl shirt or not? I don't know. But then I was like, you know what, go for it. Andrew will
I
appreciate it.
think I think if the question is posed, should I? You don't even need to
You just gotta
answer the
do it.
rest of it.
You
Just
gotta
yes.
gotta do it.
Should I? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Whatever it is. Yes. Unless you're talking to my kids, and then the answer is no. You should not do that.
um
But yeah, look, I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are a big part of my life all of a sudden. If you had told me years ago when we were making things together, if you had told me that, uh, cooking food, the culinary world and cheerleading would be like the two things that maybe people know me for is pretty, it's a big surprise. So, but yeah, it's been great.
In your personal life, are you a big sports fan?
Yeah, I love sports, but like I'm not sports obsessed. It's funny, I've had a house guest this week from back east, and they're just complaining about what a lame sports town LA is. And they're like, the Dodgers are playing in the playoffs, and it's not even on a TV in the bar that we're in. Like they're just like disappointed. And so like, no, I am a huge sports fan, but I recognize in the world where people like are listening to drive time sports and watching ESPN constantly, I'm not that guy. I've sort of veered off,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you would have talked to me in college, I would have said if I could figure out how to do some kind of sports storytelling on television, that would have been really cool for me, notwithstanding other goals that I had at that stage. But I really would have thought those two worlds would converge for me as a storyteller at some point. And so, yeah, it's funny how that works out.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you're
I'm
right. I
totally
mean,
jealous. I
sports,
love sports. Yeah.
I know you get a lot of sports fans in this room right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Do you have
think
a
you're
fantasy
right.
football team?
Yeah,
Oh.
I have two, one that
Okay.
is particularly good and
Yeah.
one, and then the other one.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I don't know that I hunted sports. I think that I really do think for the most part, there are certain projects that I've had through the years that I have gone after and really, really wanted. And my batting average on those is not always all that high, right? Like there are definitely things that I wanted so bad that make me so jealous when I see that other people are
Can
getting to
you
make it
can you say what it
that I had
is?
no shot.
Can you say what it is?
Um, Well, this is there's a fish doc being shot right now that like I would have loved to have been making, and they didn't pick me. But those other opportunities, like I support other storytellers, Greg Whiteley,
Yeah.
who even himself, if you were talking to him, he would not say that he necessarily is like a diehard sports, need to do everything around sports, but he did Last Chance U. We did that together, and then we did Cheer together, and Boston Red Sox, the Clubhouse together, and America's Sweethearts together. And so, um, I've been fortunate enough to be supporting him. Welcome to Wrexham happened, and through a whole other, you know, conversation and incredibly proud of that. But that show candidly is very different from what America's Sweethearts is and the types of stuff that Greg is doing. um we did a polo show
I
called
saw it.
Polo.
I saw it.
And I love that show, and that to me is as sports storytelling as anything else that we do. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we find ourselves, and it's funny then people would say like, you're not really sports storytellers, right? And it's like, I guess
I
not. Just
mean,
welcome to Wrexham and the other sports Emmys on our shelf, like, I don't know.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the shows that you've done, especially Cheer and America's Sweethearts, have literally changed the game of sport because I don't think anybody who watches those shows will ever look at a cheerleader ever the same because they're not like the amount of athleticism and work and that goes into those dances is just incredible. I mean, they're as athletic as anybody else out there on the playing field. And you guys have showed that and really changed that conversation for that sport, if you will. Um, it's incredible. I love those shows. I'm a huge fan.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think, look, you and I probably were around Broadway shows back in the day.
Uh-huh.
And so I personally have always been attracted to stories around people who are doing like not obviously physically dangerous and straining things, right? Oh, that's a lot of words to say that. Like, I always thought the dancers on Broadway were crazy athletes and, like football players, 8 shows a week kind of thing. But look, I have to say the name Greg Whiteley over and over and over again. Like Greg Whiteley, Greg Whiteley, Greg Whiteley. That guy is a storyteller in a class by himself. I feel so fortunate to, be a producer that supports his projects and his storytelling. But I think he in the making of Last Chance U, and he would probably be able to tell the story much better than I would, but I think that he just sort of saw something in these junior college cheerleaders where, how are the stakes so high? But anyway, yeah, he's an amazing storyteller, and I would agree with you as a fan of those shows that what he has done with Last Chance U and then Cheer and then America's Sweethearts has transformed the storytelling. That's the thrill of this for me, right? Like we also just released AKA Charlie Sheen on Netflix, right? Andrew Renzi is a director who we work with, who directed that film. That's a whole other thing. Like on some level, it's funny. I don't even know if I've ever put Renzi and Greg Whiteley in the same room together. Maybe they've been in a Dodger game together, but like they could not be different filmmakers. And yet, they're making films that are so and working on and storytelling that is just different, totally divergent. But I'm fans of both of them, and so that's the thrill of it for me, at least.
So
I was gonna say,
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, I'm a big fan of Greg's as well. I've never met him, never worked with him, but when the clubhouse was announced, I was hitting his inbox 10 times a day. I'm a baseball guy, played ball. I want to get on this project. They called McNeely. It was like, dude, you got to get me on this. Ryan calls me back. He's like literally an hour later, McNeely calls me back. He's like, he's already got his team together. I was like, oh, come on, man. Can't you do something?
I have a guy who I've worked with who was like coming up the ranks and now is like properly a producer with a P. But he was like, he's from Boston. He like comes with like the accent and all. Like, I'm like, oh, and he's the best. I mean, incredible producer. And I was like, you gotta meet this guy. You gotta get him. And Greg was like, no, I already have my team.
Yeah.
And I'm
Of course. You've got to keep
I'm
you got to
supposed
keep your
to
team.
be
You got to
able to.
keep your team.
I'm a lot cooler than Ryan McNeely. But no, that's the secret sauce there. Is it Greg makes those shows the way Greg makes those shows. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
he's great at it.
Yeah.
So for people that don't, know this business, if you could explain that relationship between, filmmaker, director like Greg Whiteley, and you, executive producer, like overseeing the show, like how does that relationship work? Did he come to you or did you find him? Or if you could explain that relationship.
Yeah, again, let's talk about Greg specifically, but what I'll say is that it is different relationship to relationship and project to project. Like I feel like for me, I'm a bit of a plate spinner, for better or for worse, right? Like this doesn't make me, it's not to make me sound the best. It's just honest, right? Where if you're old enough like me, you guys aren't. But the guy who used to spin plates on Johnny Carson, like you get the first one going and you get the second one going. Then the first one, you just have to sort of like make sure it's still going. And then all of a sudden you got 5 going. And so that's my job. I spend an awful lot of time getting these things up off the ground, but ideally I should be the least important person in them. Right. So as the producer, executive producer, whatever you want to call it, early on, my role is to put a team in place that can succeed. And then my friend Michael Hilliard says this to me. Jen, you probably know Michael Hilliard, but he's a great producer.
Mhm.
Um, he used to say, or he still says, I make him sound either old or retired. He is neither. But he says, and I preach this, that the higher up you are on the sort of call sheet, the more people you work for, not reverse. I think people
Mm.
think that the higher your name is, all those people under you work for you, when actually, as a producer, you work for everyone. It is your responsibility to give everyone what they need to be successful. So the director needs a DP, the DP needs time, right? I know I'm talking to a DP, so I can earn some points here. But a DP needs time, a DP needs tools, a DP needs, resources. Um, it's my job as the producer to work for everybody. The PA needs things to be successful, needs the right vehicles, the right time, the right, tools to get from point A to point B. So what I do on each project is different because what everybody on those projects needs is quite different. I met Greg Whiteley, and I say this story with some sensitivity because I don't want to speak disparagingly about anyone, but we did not work together when he started Last Chance U. So he had done season 1 of Last Chance U, and I think it was in a very television kind of model for him. Greg's a filmmaker. Before making Last Chance U, Greg had directed the Mitt Romney doc called Mitt. He had directed a bunch of just, like real documentary with a capital D
Yeah.
work. And so making a TV show for Netflix at that time, when they really only had a few TV shows going, was a frustrating process for him. And I sat with Greg. It was like at this time where I was from one shoot in Japan to another shoot in Italy, and I had like a layover, and it was like just a time of life. And babies at home, like it was all happening. And I met with Greg for 45 minutes. I had a suitcase with me because I was going to the airport. And he said, this was a grind. I just don't want to make TV shows. It's just, he was really struggling with it. And I said, what if we made an 8-hour movie and we figured out the breaks, but there were no hot sheets and you didn't need to know that you were shooting episode 3 of 101 today, and then we were shooting, like if you could just take a total documentary film approach and then figure it out, and he has modified that and crystallized that and perfected that. But releasing the sort of like hot sheets every night, and what episode are we shooting for, and how do we get that to the editors and the story producers for that episode tonight while we're shooting the next episode next week, like just shedding all of that, it was like, okay, let's do it. Letting Greg make the shows the way Greg wants to make the shows is half of my producing value in that. Like getting out of the way and letting Greg do Greg, is that letting Greg not have to deal with all the BS that goes into making a show like this. On the legal front, I mean, I had a legal conversation today about a series that delivered, it never ends. We're not clearing happy birthday or anything like that, but these conversations take a while, as you know. And so, in that one, I'm producing in that way. Other shows, I'm creatively in the trenches every day, and then you get that one up and running. Welcome to Wrexham is in season 5. But my role in season 1 of Welcome to Wrexham during COVID, trying to figure out what that show was, having a crew in Wales, and like, that was high lift, heavy lift. Season 5, there's a team in place now that makes that show that I'm lucky if I get a shirt at the end of the season in some ways, because, that says welcome to Wrexham Crew on it, because that show is flying.
Yeah. I tell you what,
And
man, it's amazing. You got rid of the hot sheet. My eyes lit up when you said that. I was like, yes, see, it can be done without hot sheets. I love
sometimes
it. I love
with the right set of circumstances, Sean, we can get rid of the hot sheet.
I wish more producers would work that way.
Well, again, all of these projects, they're snowflakes, right? Like you do, to me, that's what good producing is. And I think that's what we're really great at our company, right? Is that you want to make something, and we have a system by which we make things. We could be making 15, 20 projects at a time. So obviously it's not just a willy-nilly, everybody should make it the way they want. We have a system. We have a manufacturing plant that sends projects through it and ultimately delivers them to streamers and networks in a way that is on time and on budget and in a way that everybody's happy. And so I got to put your creative take, whether it's a TV show or a film or something that we don't even want to put that label on in between, and I got to make that work through this sausage factory. And it's not about making a square peg fit in a round hole or vice versa. It's about just willing it into existence in a way that is somehow systemized. And that's the thing. That's producing. That's at least what I think it is.
I love that description so much. And it's rare. It's a little sad to say, but I think it's rare in this business to find such great leaders like you and what you described, and just sort of getting out of the way and supporting your team and letting them do their best. Because I think perhaps because you were a producer, because you were a director, because you did these things yourself, it enabled you to truly understand the process and become a great leader and run, have a company and be more on the business side or the management side, but you understand what your directors and producers are up against. So you're
I
able to,
do.
right? Like, I think that's helped, it seems.
I do understand what my producers and directors, excuse me, are up against, right? And that's not, it sounds like a simple thing, but it's everything, right? Like that includes the weather, that includes technology, that includes getting from point A to point B. Like I really do empathize with the people who are making these shows. And I was out there making them and grinding that on them. And I still direct things once in a while and try to get out there just to stay really close to it. But yeah, it's like, it's asking people what they need, but also just knowing what they need. Like this is a big one, right? So I got credit for removing hot sheets. So I'll give you another one, right? I have a really hard time with anybody who can access projects. Like I used to work at places where, as the showrunner of a show, people were in my projects. Like from their computers, executives at companies could access my edits while they were happening. And it's like, I will give you something to watch when I think it's ready for you to watch, which doesn't mean it's done, right? There are certain people that are like, you'll see it when it's done. It's like, no. We're going to have to check in on this periodically. Yeah. But like that it almost makes me grip my pearls. I don't have pearls, but like it causes the physical reaction in me of like,
would they give notes? Would they like pop in and give notes?
They're like in there. They're in there, and they could give thoughts and like, yeah, I see what you're doing there, but and it's like, no, that killed me. I'm trying to think. At our company, traditionally, and this again varies project to project, but like we don't own much equipment at all. We don't own. I once did a show when I was a showrunner before I had a company, or like right in those early days where it was a little bit of both. But I hired a DP. I hired the DP they asked me to and we did 2 days of camera tests, and we had this awesome thing, and we came in with like a spreadsheet that we had built of all the different things and links to watch for all the different camera tests, and like it was the most exciting thing ever. And they were like, no, you shoot on this camera and you can get the tapes in the warehouse. We have the tape stock. And it was like heartbreaking, like just devastating to me. And so we don't do that to people ever. Not one time in the 15 years of Boardwalk Pictures. And if I'm wrong, then somebody should tell me, but I don't think we've ever told somebody what they're shooting on.
That's
That's
great. That's cool.
amazing.
It's
I
rare.
love it. So how
Yeah.
did you go from producer director to CEO and founder of Boardwalk Pictures?
I like the way you say that. That sounds formidable.
Yeah, it is.
I was telling this story this weekend, and so I feel comfortable saying it. I hope nobody gets upset with me about it. I definitely had ambition to like. All I really wanted was to be able to do more than one project at a time. That really, because when I was on staff at Radical, Jen, you mentioned it. I worked at Radical Media. I was a staff producer there. I got to direct things there, sort of. But we were working on TV shows. Candidly, like there were commercial directors at Radical, and they were doing very fancy stuff. And we were doing the TV shows, which was different. Certainly very proud of it, but different than the commercial side of things. And it wasn't director driven for the most part. There were things we were doing, like I would, do with Joe Berlinger and Bruce Sinofsky, Derek C. and Franz. But other than that, we were doing some TV things that were sort of producer driven. In any event, that had sort of run its course. And all I wanted to be able to do was to keep doing that. I didn't want to go to being a freelancer. I was working on all these projects at a job that I had. I produced this Britney Spears documentary for MTV. So I was based in New York. I came out to LA for 3 months to produce this Britney Spears documentary, which was directed by Phil Griffin. And that was a feature that was a special thing, commercial free on MTV Thanksgiving weekend. It was a big deal. I met my then girlfriend, now former wife, but obviously a very important part of my life. And I wasn't going back to New York, really. Like, this is where life is going to be now. Thank you, Britney Spears. I did not marry Britney Spears, but I did meet my former wife, on this job. Anyway, my time at Radical, I was moving on, and I just wanted to make sure that I could produce more than one thing at a time. And the way to do that was to be a company, not a freelancer. I wanted to say yes to things. I knew I could handle that. And then some shift happened after I was doing that a little while, where I realized by needing less, obviously at the beginning of your career, there's a responsibility that you have to build your brand and get credit for things that you're doing, right? And leaving Radical, that was part of it, right? I'm doing all this work. I want credit for it. But I named the company Boardwalk Pictures. I did not name it Andrew Freed Productions. I knew very early on that for this thing to scale, I needed to be not the most important. I needed to be part of it. And yeah, it was hard in those early years where everybody thought they were getting 100% of me. And I didn't have 300% to give out. And so I had to make myself less critical if I wanted to be doing more. And that was what I wanted to be doing. That was the thrill for me. That, like, I meet David Gelb, and David Gelb had directed this movie, Jiro Dreams of Sushi. And he says, what I'd really want to do in TV is like Planet Earth for food. And so we get Chef's Table going, but that's David Gelb. And then Brian McGinn really, ran that for a while. And Danny O'Malley ran that for, they were, and I directed at least one episode per season for the first 5 or 6 seasons, I think. But I wasn't looking to get all the credit for Chef's Table, which I wouldn't have deserved. but I was not looking to get the credit for Chef's Table. I was looking for 10 more Chef's Tables. And yeah, that's sort of how it started. When I started my own company, we did promos. I did a lot of promos for AMC Network. You might have worked with me on some of them early on. I did a lot of promos for Mad Men.
Was that The
Matt
Talking
Weiner, and
Dead? The Talking Dead? Was that you?
eventually we did
Okay, yeah, I
Walking Dead
did.
promos. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. See, I'm telling you. But Matt Weiner and Scott Hornbacher, who were the producers, Matt was the creator of Mad Men. They, for whatever reason, allowed me to do all like the annoying stuff that AMC needed from them. They let me do, and so I did promos and things like that. The Walking Dead, when that launched in Atlanta, and all the promos we did around that. We did interviews around that. So that was our bread and butter. And then when David and Brian and I started with Dane, and we started doing Chef's Table, Dane, who's now my COO, but he was, head of production because that's what we called him then. And he was all about Chef's Table. And Mad Men was ending, and we finally, like, after all these like $60,000 dink and dunk kind of projects, Mad Men was ending, and we had a big like $1 million campaign to send off Mad Men, and it was the biggest thing that had ever happened in my company. And Dane was getting ready to go out to do season 1 of Chef's Table, and I was like, Dane, do not. I am like channeling my grandfather and my uncle when I do this. I was like, Dane, do not get distracted by this food show. Our bread and butter, our AMC promos. And then, of course, the food show became Chef's Table, and it was redefined my entire adult life and the trajectory of our career and
I mean,
everything.
what
Wow.
a start. If that's your
Yeah.
your first show at your
It wasn't our
company.
first show. It wasn't our first show, but it changed everything.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful show and so
Thank you.
enjoyable. And I love that it's so simple. Like you said, I think earlier you said just a simple what did you say exactly? It was like a simple concept, but like you really took it to
Oh,
just a
David
different
said
level.
he wanted to do Planet Earth for food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
And, again, it evolves from that. It can never be that simple. But the things that I'm not a foodie, right? I mean, David certainly is. Brian certainly is. Brian McGinn, one of the executive producers, directors, and real visionaries of that show. He is, the foodiest of all the foodies. And he's a real integral part of that community, uh, candidly. But I personally came at it from a storytelling standpoint, and I think that's how we talked about it early on. We talked far more about superhero movies when we were making the first season of Chef's Table than I think people would believe. Like sitting in an edit being like, yeah, but when Superman discovers his powers, he then has to harness them, and then he has to use them for good, and like, it's like, what are we talking about? I thought we were talking about sushi. What happened here? But that's the beauty of that show. It's we agonize. I say we. I've moved progressively farther and farther away from the 2 a.m. edit sessions on that one, but we/they agonize over with just meticulous attention to detail over those shows, and I think it shows.
100%. Oh, that's amazing. And how many seasons? Seven seasons of Chef's
So
Table?
we are the longest running show on Netflix.
Wow.
Unless Lilyhammer is coming back, I don't know. But yes, we have been running on Netflix as an original longer than any of their original shows. We've been making it for almost 11 years now. Chef's Table Legends, which released in April, was the 10-year anniversary. And how many seasons? I swear I don't know, because we shoot them as cycles, and then they're released as seasons. And so I don't know, but lots. Wonderful chefs around the world. places we couldn't have, when we started that, if you would have told me we would do a barbecue season or a pizza season, I would have told you, it was such a weird thing, right? So I met these kids from film school who we're going to make Chef's Table with. And I'm a pretty experienced guy and I know what I'm doing. And it was called Chef's Story. We couldn't pass title clearance. So we changed it to Chef's Table, which is like a crazy thing now. Like, of course it should be Chef's Table. But yeah, we couldn't clear it. Again, back to the happy birthday references. Yeah, the first camera meeting that we had for that show, and the two DPs, Adam Bricker and Will Basanta, said that we're not going to have zoom lenses in our package. And it was like, what are you talking about? Like, we're making a TV show. We cannot go out into the field without zooms. It's like, yeah, we will not be bringing zooms in our camera package to make Chef's Table.
They just use primes, or were they? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
we shoot on prime.
Wow.
On primes. And so
no wonder it's so beautiful.
But that's what I'm saying. So it was a totally different, everything about it was messed up for me, right? Like our DPs weren't even pulling their own focus. The operators weren't pulling focus for themselves. The ACs were sitting there pulling focus. It was totally different than anything that I had ever done in the unscripted space before. And yet that's what we were doing. The first season, the one that I directed, Adam Bricker was the DP, and I love Adam. But there was tension that first year of like what this was and what this wasn't. So I made him just do a fixed rig at points in the kitchen because I was like, I need scenes. Like, I don't know how to make a show without scenes. And the only way for me to get a scene is to put mics on these two chefs and have them, cook something together. I don't know. Like, they need to do something. And I don't know what I'm going to do in the edit if I don't have them doing something. And so he fastened the red and he's like, you shoot on that. I'll walk away from it if you want. We ended up, finding our visual language in that show. But no primes. I mean, no zooms, all primes. It's like,
Wow.
Okay.
That's wow. That's amazing. That's definitely a new language for a verite doc style.
But it's not a
storytelling.
verite doc, right? It's
No.
actually
No.
it's actually, beautiful imagery assembled together over like in-depth interview. We do anywhere from 6 to 14 hours of interview on those shows just with the main subject.
Yeah.
And so, it's a hardcore kind of thing. First time I said to David Gelb, we'd set up the series. We're going to do 6 of them. Here's how much money we got, which was a decent amount of money at the time, certainly. And I said, we're going to have, that's first season, I think it was 9 shoot days and 8 edit weeks. And I remember the color in his face washing out to a pale shade of white and being like, there's no way we can do it with that. And I was like, well, we can. We'll figure it out. We're going to figure it out. But so we go in and we don't storyboard it, but we have a pretty good idea of how we want to shoot everything. And we light the kitchens. We spend a day lighting those kitchens.
I'm sure. Yeah. It's so beautiful. It's ridiculous.
But then once we've lit the kitchen, all that verite, but there's not a lot of talking that's happening there, but all of that kitchen verite happens in a beautifully lit. And then when we turn off the lights at the end of the day, everyone's like, whoa, what happened? And then the chefs are like, can you leave these lights? And we're like, no, we can't.
Oh, that's so cool. Is there another Chef's Table on the table?
We like to say that we plan to make Chef's Table forever. So, we've just released our Legends, which was a big one. We won our first Emmy for Chef's Table this season.
That was your first one?
Oh yeah. For best original music composition.
Nice.
So that's our first Emmy for Chef's Table. We're often nominated, and obviously a lot of gratitude for that, but there's always like another doc that year. There's always something else that year that
Yeah, I'm
ends up winning.
surprised that's your first one. I feel like when it came
Yeah.
on Netflix, it was just stunning. Like, it just kind of blew everybody away. Like, everyone was talking about Chef's Table, and have you seen that show? You know, whenever Netflix came up, it was just I remember it just being a big deal. So I'm
Well,
surprised.
we love Chef's Table. We plan to make it forever. We're always in discussions about figuring out the next one and or the next cycle of them, and can never talk about them until they're really releasing. So it's a hard one. You know, if we talk at some point and you hear that I'm traveling somewhere crazy, it's safe to say that I'm heading to a Chef's Table shoot and I just can't talk about it yet. But what we are also doing with Chef's Table is, like, you know, we're starting to activate that brand off screen. And so Airbnb has a bunch of curated Chef's Table experiences now with where people are taking cooking classes. We did a series of dinners at Art Basel in Miami that were called Chef's Table Diner, and so we have a podcast now that David hosts that has launched. And so we are starting to work with Chef's Table out in the world differently.
That's brilliant. I love
Yeah.
that. That is
Are
true.
you still getting out in the field a lot, or I mean, all the stuff you've got going, all the plates you're spinning?
There you go. Yeah, it's much less, but not because, like, I've been very successful at making myself less important and giving people what they need. So, okay, so now I'm talking to people who have spent a lot of time on set, and, like, think about the days when the CEO shows up. Like, it's just not, no matter how awesome that person is, it's just energetically, like, different.
Yeah.
It's annoying. There are resources that have to be spent. It's like resources that have to be spent towards what I'm eating for lunch, which I don't really care about, but that is going to happen. And it's just so if we're on a stage somewhere, I love coming to a stage. I can pop into a stage. I know it doesn't sound like a documentary thing, but we do competition formats. We do a lot of things like that. The larger the day, the happier I am to come, because I'm not messing up the vibe at all. Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, right? Like, I stay as far away from that as possible, but we were working with Jake and Logan Paul, and when that fight happened, like, I was like as close to the cheerleaders that night as I ever am, because it was just so big
Yeah.
that I knew I'd be out of the way. Um, and then the flip side of that is that I do try to find shows that I can have an actual job on, which more often than not is directing. And so Chef's Table, I always tried to direct one per season. I don't do that anymore because we're 10 years on. When we did anthology series, which there's far less of now, but I directed one of the 7 Days Out. I directed one of the home games. I directed, I love doing that. But no, if I'm going to be, and being out in the field helps me be a better producer, because I know there are 5 other directors going out and having the same 2-week experience that I had, and I can refine that and make it better. But yeah, what Greg Whiteley and Andrew Renzi and Nadia Hallgren and whoever else that we're working with as a filmmaker or showrunner, the last thing they need is me up in their space.
Yeah.
Sadly. That's why I don't go out with people after rap anymore either. It's like nobody wants to hang out with their boss. Even if they say, like, no, it's not like that. It's like, you have worked a 10-hour day or a 12-hour day. You should enjoy your moment. I was on a shoot years ago where I was, like, in charge for the first time, and we wrapped, and I went to the bar and I was like, first round is on me. And everybody was like, yeah. And it was like the best. And then I was like, oh, we were like in Virginia, so everything was really cheap. And so I was like, another round on me. And I was like, oh, it was so great. And then they all took that next shot and went back to talking to who they were talking to, because they had worked a full day and they did not need to be part of, like, the whole rap party vibe. They just needed to, like, talk to the QPA. And
Yeah.
you know?
That's
And
so
so I left
funny.
there that night. I left there that night in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I was like, "Oh, I get it. This is not for me anymore. That's
Oh.
okay." No, 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 it's not like that, Jen. It's not like that.
No, I know,
But
but
it's just
it's
different.
a
It's just
mix.
different.
It's a mixed bag. But it's true. Like, I think, I mean, that's respect to your crew. That's respect to your crew, because I mean, I'm sure they enjoyed your company. But it's true, after a long day of 10 hours of shooting, you do need to decompress with the people that were all there, and it's like a tribal meeting or something.
It is a tribal meeting, and for years I was a part of that tribe, and now I am, one of the sort of like chief energy of that tribe, and so I should go to bed the earliest,
I love
right?
it.
It's like,
Yeah,
well, this
yeah.
was great. Thank you so much for the day. I'll catch you guys in the
Well,
morning.
peace out.
When I'm at my best, look, there have been some nights. I'm not going to pretend that I haven't gotten caught up in it sometimes, but when I'm at my best, I'm letting the crew decompress without me.
That's
Yeah,
very sweet.
yeah, yeah. I do miss it when I'm not out there. You must miss it just a tiny little bit, though, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
but it's amazing how you pop in for a couple of days, and it's amazing if you have something to do. If I'm on this polo show, right? There was a team in Wellington, Florida, shooting that show for about a month. I was not there the whole month. I was there for like a pretty quick hit, but I had something very specific that I needed to take care of, and I did it.
Did you meet
And
Prince Harry?
I have, yes, is the answer to that. Um, but like I had something very specific to do on the ground in Wellington. I was there for 3 days. I did all the things that I needed to do, and I felt like, yeah, I'm in it. We killed a bird with our car. It was like we were on the road, like it was all happening in like a 3 day period. But
Yeah.
but no, I do find myself like I'm I will be directing a scripted thing for the first time. I've never done that before. There's a 30-minute pilot that I'm going to be directing that a friend of mine wrote that I'm really excited about. So yeah, I'm just trying to do new things in new ways.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah,
Scripted.
really.
You
Yeah.
keeping that local, or you taking that overseas?
No, no, no. That'll be very, very small and very. I don't. I could shoot that thing on phones, to be honest, right? Like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even know what it's going to be, but I want to be making stuff.
Well, speaking of thing to thing, from chefs to the Cowboys. Let's talk about the
Yes.
Cowboys. How in the world did you get access to that story? And it's amazing, by the way.
Well, again, I have to say Greg Whiteley's name as many times as
Greg
possible.
Whiteley. Yeah,
Yeah, Greg Whiteley.
he's
So
amazing.
he we did 2 seasons of Cheer together, right? Cheer was a huge, huge success.
Huge.
And I think a game changing kind of thing, right?
Oh,
Here,
yeah.
Greg is doing real documentary storytelling in serialized form about women of a certain age and a certain topic that made it all so poppy and zeitgeisty. And all of a sudden, like, it's real doc, and everybody was watching it and everybody was talking about it. And then the star of season one, or one of the stars of season one, has this terrible, sex scandal.
Oh, Jerry.
Yeah, which was terrible.
Oh,
And
sad.
we had shot a season two that then didn't air because of COVID, and we held it and then had to shoot another. I mean, it was fraught.
Mm.
And then the second season that Greg released was, I think, even better than the first, and handled all the Jerry stuff. Like, I like to say that Cheer season one was like Rocky, and Cheer season two was like Rocky 3, because now they were the most famous cheerleading team in the country, and Trinity College was then coming after them, and Jerry. It was so much, and so we were excited to go back and do season 3, and that really isn't what a successful TV franchise is anymore. There just aren't shows about people and places you never heard of anymore. And that used to be what we did. That's what Last Chance U was. That's what uh, Cheer was. That's what, so many of the shows that we did were. And we had to respond to the market. And so, yeah, I think Netflix had brought at least the discussion they were having with the Dallas Cowboys to us to say maybe Cheer doesn't exist anymore, but maybe there's a version of it that could play within this.
So
And
wait, back up
yeah.
a second. You're saying docs used to find these little corners of the world and highlight them, but then what changed? Like the market changed for more commercial type of shows or something?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what
and
happened?
our outlook changed, right? Like we want to make big hit shows. We want to make mainstream entertainment. Yes, we love documentaries, and I come up through documentaries, but my thesis for years was always that documentary storytelling can merge with mainstream entertainment. During COVID, it did. That happened. Everybody was watching The Last Dance. Everybody was watching, hopefully some of them were watching Cheer, but the Tiger King. Everybody was watching Tiger
Yeah.
King. So all of a sudden, documentaries are mainstream entertainment. And so then, and I forget my logic proofs from math, but like, if not P, then Q or something. But like, if it is mainstream entertainment, then it's no longer about random people you never heard of before, at least for us. And so there needed to be some level of IP to some or IP or something that makes it recognizable to the audience, so that we're not convincing you to watch. We're putting something in front of you that you want to watch. And so the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders is a brand. And you notice I don't say the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders is a brand that, does not need any introduction. You see
Oh yeah.
one of those boots and one of those pom-poms and the star on the field, and
It's as
the
iconic
beginning of
as it
Thunderstruck.
gets. It
Yeah.
gets
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
as iconic as my t-shirt. Here. No.
as iconic as your t-shirt. But that's what I'm saying. So we realized that that's the new table stakes
Yeah.
for us and for the level in the industry that we want to play at.
Amazing. I mean, that show, I really truly enjoyed that show, as an athlete myself. I appreciate shedding light on, female sports and not downplaying how hard it is and how fierce it is and how those coaches are fierce. They're brutal. Like,
Yeah.
imagine trying to try out for them. They will just cut you down to shreds. And, it was amazing. I just loved so much of that show. It was just really enjoyable.
Well, season one of Cheer, I think the thing that Greg does from from like scene one of that show is he introduces physical danger. And a
Uh-huh.
lot of it, I think, for me at least, is in the audio, right? Like that first season of Cheer, every time they're caught in a basket, you hear it. There's like a visceral,
Thud.
like, yeah, you almost feel it in your rib
Oh,
cage. Like
yeah.
you feel the strain. And so by introducing that so early in Cheer, I think it changed the very nature of that show, where it's obvious to women who had maybe, pom-poms in their closet from some point in their life, but it became really obvious to athletes, male, female, whatever, however you identify, but athletes recognize athletes. And as soon as you realized what that was, that show launched into a totally different sort of sphere. And with America's Sweethearts, it's definitely different than that. But I think that Greg does it with that in the stakes of the auditions, that like these are people who want something. And so even though maybe it's not as physically hazardous as what was happening in Sheer, there is a want of this thing, that vest, those pom-poms, those boots. That is something that, again, I think athletes can understand the striving towards something. And so he's Greg's incredible.
Yeah, he is. He
100%.
does great stuff. Really good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think he clearly identified that just putting on that uniform was scoring a touchdown. I mean, or the Super Bowl, a touchdown at the Super Bowl even. It was that big of a deal. And he made it feel important too, because it was. It didn't trivialize it or make fun of them in any kind of way for being cheerleaders. It put them on a pedestal, and you know, you have full respect for these girls and how hard they're working. I love that because
Oh,
as a
yeah.
female athlete, you know, I've always I love sports stories and sports storytelling, but in my lifetime, there's been very few really compelling documentaries about women's sports, and you've done it. I mean, you guys, you and your team have put those 2 shows on the map and really done a service to women in sports. So,
Oh,
thank
well, thank you
you.
for that. But
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you for saying that.
for sure.
W- Thanks. And I think what I can appreciate in that conversation is, number one, I do think that women's sports and the way it engages with the audience. There's a woman, Melissa Foreman, who I work with. She's at a company called Impact Partners, but she's great. You should talk to her. She would tell you, and I agree, that the way people consume women's sports is different. The connection is different. The connection is far more meaningful, far more on the field, off the field. It's just a different connection and a different level of engagement with a community, right? I don't even think of it as an audience. I don't think of it as an audience that's watching. I think of it as a community that is engaged, truly. Um, and yet, and I love how Greg just kind of deals with it like sports. I mean, yes, those interviews are happening on the athletes' beds, and it's a very intimate, human, personal kind of environment, but he doesn't excuse or discount the athleticism or the sports at all, which I think is just awesome. Just awesome.
It's a great balance between being totally girly, you know, and sitting on the bed, painting your nails, eating pizza in your pajamas, you know, super girly, but yet fierce and competitive. And I thought he really captured that balance between as a female athlete, like, because
Yeah,
female athletes, they may be fierce, but they can be really girly too. They're both. They're not mutually exclusive, and I thought he just did a great job showcasing that.
that's the that's the beauty of that. They are not mutually exclusive, and he, makes space for all of those things all at once. And yeah, I love his shows. I love his shows. And eh, and yet I want to see his storytelling in many, many different realms. Like sports is great, and I'm excited for the next thing that he's doing that isn't sports.
Well, I have a question for the editor.
Yeah.
How many times did the editor have to listen to Thunderstruck? Because now every time I hear Thunderstruck at the gym or something, I'm just like dancing with my pom-poms, you know, like I can't hear that song and not associate it with the Cowgirls anymore.
Well, like, all kidding aside, yes, right? Like, it's funny to think about, but there's the legal producing part of that, right? You're going to play that song an awful lot. It's a good look for everybody. I think they're licensing it to half the commercials that I watched during playoff season now. So, like, everybody got what they wanted from that. But it's tricky when the plot point of your multi-episode series is around a very recurring thing. We did a show, Pop Star Academy, um, from Netflix, which was about the band Cat's Eye that Nadia Hallgren directed, and similar thing, right? Like, it's the same song over and over again. And how many times can you listen to it? How many times can the audience be excited by it? How many? I think of the movie that remember the movie That Thing You Do, that Tom Hanks had directed, where it was all about this one-hit wonder band. And it's like, well, how many times they go to the Ed Sullivan show, they go to this, they go to this, they played in the garage, they played at the party, like, so it's one of those like interesting challenges, I guess. It works. I still get excited every time I hear that song. So
I didn't get sick of it.
no,
I
no,
didn't
I still get
I didn't
excited.
I don't think it got old, or I didn't get sick of it. It felt fresh every time they played it. I don't know. It was a good, but the poor editor though, I'm sure they had to listen.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll probably never listen to that
Well, it's
song
better than
again.
the alternative. Better than the alternative, right? Which is, for an editor at least. I directed a feature film about called We Are Freestyle of Supreme, about a improv. You probably have a credit in that, Jen. I think you shot some of that for me about 15 years ago.
Oh
But about
yeah.
but about but about an improv group.
Oh
And so
yeah.
we had all this performance footage, but never the same. Not one performance was ever similar to the next one. So what, as an editor, what would you prefer? To hear the same thunderstruck over and over again and try to figure that out, or how to make a sense out of all these shows that just are different enough from each other to make you want to pull your hair out? I don't know.
Hmm. I'm not sure. It's probably why I'm not an editor.
Yeah.
um But another wonderful thing about the film, and something that I personally enjoy from the work that we do, is the butterfly effect, like what happens after the film is made, and the positive impact that it can have. And for the girls, getting that 400% pay increase was, a tribute to the show, you know. That's incredible.
It's it feels incredible, and there's a lot of people who, it's a lot that goes into that, right? It's not, it seems simple. You're the Dallas Cowboys. These are cheerleaders working for you. They should be paid more. And I think there's nobody who would have said, nope, they shouldn't be paid more. But it's a league, it's other teams, it's the WNBA negotiation. There's just so much politics involved in all of this. And so I feel really proud to be a small part of that story and how it has moved forward in the last couple of years since we've um, given platform to it. Yeah, I think that's cool.
And congratulations for season 3. I just heard, is that new news, or is that
No, again, it's sort of hard to keep a secret when you're following the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders around during football season. So I think Netflix just embraced the idea that they should announce that we're doing a third season. But yeah, we're thrilled to be back in Dallas, and yeah,
So this is it more of an in-season story
we
this time?
always start during the audition process over the summer and take it through, not all the way through the season, though I imagine one of these years the Cowboys will make a run. It'll be like, well, we got to keep shooting through the Super Bowl, right? But I don't remember the exact out date, but it's less about the season and more about like the banquet that they have, things like that.
Yeah.
and what's the choreographer's daughter's name again? Hayden or something?
Oh,
Oh,
I'm bad at passing
I
quizzes, but
I
but
know.
I but I will say this. I will say this, that we sit around in the office, like today somebody was asking, like, did Victoria end up making the Rockettes? Like, it's just, we are so like actually in it, like we're making it, and yet we're also like watching it like everybody else. It's this nice balance. But yeah, that storyline with the choreographer's daughter was hard.
I hope
Poor
she makes
girl.
it. I mean, how do you know how hard those kicks are and how exhausting it is when they're like, "Do it again. You look tired. Do it again." And you're like, "Oh my gosh."
Well, landing in the splits and then the hip surgeries and the low back problems and
Yeah, man.
I
Couldn't
think I'd
do
rather
that
go be a
once.
producer.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like my son and I watch kickoffs during like an NFL game, and he'll look at me and he'll be like, "If I got tackled like that once, I think I would die." And I want to say to him, if I did the splits that the cheerleader did on the sidelines, I think I would die. So,
I would
I don't
definitely
know who's
die.
worse.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I tried out for cheerleading in high school. I did not make the team, but it was kind of a half-ass effort. I wasn't really sure I wanted to do that. I just kinda wanted to be hanging out with the football players, and I was like, "You know what? I'll try this cheerleading thing."
But it
How
sent you on a
different would
different
your life
athletic
be?
path. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm
How different
saying.
would your life be if you had made that swap?
No, I was not built for that. I'm more of I was more of a track kinda girl in high school. I was not a cheerleader.
A different athletic journey was
Different.
in
I
your
had
future.
other stuff. Yeah. No, I think, yeah, my trajectory would have been very different. Who knows? Maybe I'm too short to be a dancer. Your newest show, though, is your newest show AKA Charlie Sheen? Is that the latest and greatest Boardwalk
It
Pictures?
is. It is. Our most recent release is AKA Charlie Sheen on Netflix, directed by Andrew Renzi.
That show, it's a heartbreaker. I mean, like, you love Charlie Sheen. He's just so, like, endearing and sweet, but so messed up, and it's just I don't know, I loved it, but it was also just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, look, talk about like how we make these shows, right? So as a director, if I'm directing something, if I'm going to make a documentary about Jen Nelson, then I don't really want to talk much to you until the cameras are set up and you sit down and I sit down. And then if we're talking about the weather today, which everyone in Los Angeles is doing, because it rained for like an hour and a half, but
It
that's a
was
different
monsoon. It was
topic.
like,
Whoa,
yeah, yeah.
crazy.
But I sit you down in the chair, and then everything that we talk about, whether what'd you have for breakfast, it's all on camera, and we'll use it or not. Renzi has a series of conversations with his subjects, in this case, Charlie Sheen, such that they really know when they sit down the arc of what they're going to talk about, the topics they're going to cover, and just sort of like the stories that they're gonna get into together. Over months, he does that. And so, again, I think that's nuts. All the good stuff happened in the backyard when you were talking about it 3 months before you shot.
Yeah.
But no, he's able to reach a level of intimacy with
Hmm.
his subjects by doing that, where it's not a journalistic Q&A, but yet also does not feel at all like it's a puff piece or curated. It's intimate. I think that's the word. And so again, if I say Greg Whiteley's name over and over again, if we're going to talk about AKA Charlie Sheen, I got to say Renzi, because that guy is just awesome.
Yeah, it was done really well. With the success of that, are you getting other people coming forward saying, "Hey, I want to do one now"? Like Nick
Yes.
Cage. I'm just, like I'm sure they're all coming out of the woodworks, and the next thing is going to be celebrity docs like that. I can see it already.
Yes.
Any sneak peeks or not yet?
No.
Yeah, yeah.
But it has been
Another
exciting.
fun one to be Nick Cage.
Yes, that would be fun. He was not in this one, as you noticed. There are a lot of
I
people in
did.
this. He is
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it is amazing. Look, the power of Netflix
yes.
is quite a thing. And so we've been fortunate enough through the years from time to time to have the number one film or television show on Netflix at any given time. And the power of that is just, it's a different conversation. And so this Charlie Sheen thing has been watched by a lot of people, and the inbound interest from people who are like, oh, I didn't realize that it could be that.
Yeah.
And so maybe I do want to tell my story.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's so
Stay tuned. Watch this space.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
it's kind of like I mean, you guys seem to have the ability to create a formula that just works, but yet it feels fresh and different every single time, like Chef's Table can take many iterations. Even Cheers season 1, season 2, totally different. America's Sweethearts, totally different from season 1 to season 2. But yet it's a formula, like it's something that um you can watch and enjoy and you know what it is, and yeah, it's this fun journey that does not get boring. And biographies, like these sort of celebrity biographies are fascinating because it doesn't get boring, it didn't feel exploitive or anything like that. Like Charlie seemed perfectly willing to talk about everything that he talked about and just lay it out. In fact, it seemed that it was refreshing to him, that it felt
Sure
like
did. Yeah.
good to get it off his chest and clear the record. But
And connect the dots, right? In like an organized way. Again, I think that's a testament to Renzi's methodology with all of this, that by sort of laying it all out there, connecting the dots, and then figuring out what the beginning, middle, and end of the story is that they're telling, right? Because that story is expansive. The Charlie Sheen story, it's expansive. It happens over time. It's a 3-hour, tour. It's a 3-hour film, more or less, right? And so, but it's not like overly exhaustive. There are plenty of movies and projects and things that do not even populate that thing, that story, because again, they spent a lot of time telling a story with a beginning, middle, and end. So
I
yeah,
was I was
I love that
curious
movie.
I was curious about the format because it was in usually that 3-hour time frame is a 3-part series, but this was a 2-part series in 90-minute chunks, right? Wasn't it? So was that
Yeah,
did Netflix decide to do that, or did you decide to do that, or what was the thinking behind the breakout?
yeah, it was like purely a creative conversation that Renzi and we all had, but Renzi definitely led that. I think there were times when we thought that was going to be a 4-parter. There were times when we thought that was going to be a 3-parter. I personally, and I remember saying this to anyone who would listen, but the Tiger Woods doc that was done on, was it HBO or
HBO.
Max a few
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
ago?
Yeah.
As a viewer, I found that very satisfying to be able to watch this whole first part, kind of have a tease to the second part. And then it's like, oh, what I got one part left to watch when I'm like, I got to watch it. So I found that to be very satisfying. I've always wanted to do something that was 2x90. A lot of this had to do with where certain things fell out in a 3-part sequence, right? Like all of a sudden it was a puzzle to solve, like any edit. I think Renzi and his team ultimately advocated for the 2-parter because it was the best story.
And the 3
There
parts
is
were
a there is a there is a rise and a fall.
Y yeah, well,
Yeah.
what was
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
It was just drugs, drugs with problems, and then just problems.
Well, and that was what the 3-parter was going to be, but just problems becomes a tough
Problem
becomes a
just a whole
tough.
episode on just problems, just
Yeah.
nothing but problems. Oh, there were so many moments there where I was like, "Oh, yeah," like, the whole winning thing, like, oh.
Oof. But it's
Remember
funny, he's
that
sort
though?
of like,
Yeah.
He's doing like the healthy version of it now. Like now he's like out on tour, but not, but he still attracts a crowd. People want to be physically near him.
Yeah. Yeah,
He
he's
just
on tour. I see him everywhere. He's promoting the heck out of that thing. It's everywhere.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
He's everywhere.
he he just has that thing, that electricity, whatever it is. He's winning. He just is winning no
It's
matter what he's
funny.
doing.
You know, we've had a lot of people come through the office through the years. And you'd see how people in an office environment react to somebody that they're not expecting, right? We don't send a memo saying Charlie Sheen's coming in with his family's 8mm film archive today. Like he just comes in with a box of film. And the young kids, you know, it's amazing. Young people don't know anything about anything. They don't know anyone. But that all kidding aside, but the way that people reacted to Charlie was different. It was different. He's like famous. He's like a real star. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
Val
They
Kilmer, the same thing. Val Kilmer being in the office and at our holiday parties back in the day was
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
He's
Awesome.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about that too, like, the Val documentary and the thousands of hours of footage to like, personal footage that was unbelievable. Did you have a team of people going through that footage, or how did you guys put that
So
together?
that film happened because I don't know if you know Ting Poo. She's one of the co-directors of that film, but she was an editor back in the day on almost everything that I worked on. She worked at Radical. She was on staff at Radical as an editor. She's awesome, awesome storyteller. She was working with this Leo, who was the other director. Leo had been working with Val for years, filming him in the behind the scenes of this Mark Twain film that he was making. And then Val got sick, and then it was like, and Leo was uh, uh, digitizing old footage, but there was sort of like this meandering project without any deliverables or pay schedule necessarily that Leo was working on for years. And so Ting was like, you know, can you give him some guidance on this a little bit? And so that came about by me talking to Ting and Leo about like, hey, why don't you bring Val in? Why don't we talk about this a little bit? Why don't we see what it is and what it isn't? Val was very hesitant to make the Val project. He wanted to make a project about his art. He wanted everybody interviewed. When's Tom Cruise going to be interviewed? When are you doing the section about my art? When are we doing this? When are we doing that? And so he wanted to make a show. He saw it as a reality show that was going to take place in his art studio. And in the art studio, clips would play on the wall. And it was just like this whole thing. And it sounds very cool and prophetic now, but it really is the true story, which is I said, Val, in my office, I said, I don't want to do any of that. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to get you a standing ovation at Cannes, which was a weird thing to say. I'd never been to Cannes. I don't know about any of that, but like, I think I was selling. I think I really was like trying to sell him and trying to get him off of this TV show. And I'm just like, how can I get Val off of this TV show? And so I was like, I want to get you a standing ovation at Cannes. But that is exactly what we got him.
That's crazy.
And Ting and Leo were the directors of that. And that movie's great, right? Like, I'm so proud of that.
It's an amazing
It is
film.
great.
And it's so, again, another heartbreaker. You guys are just breaking hearts.
It's a heartbreaker. But I would argue it's also, to the original thesis that I was talking about, it is mainstream entertainment.
Yeah.
Like, heartbreaking as it is,
Yeah.
when You are in archival footage of Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise on a aircraft carrier, and he's driving up, and it goes boom, right, and it's like the Top Gun music is playing.
Yeah.
Like, I want to scream.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, that is a movie. It's not a documentary at that point. That is just a big old movie.
So what's the goal now? Like, obviously the TV landscape is always changing, but going through a particularly hard time now with all these eyeballs switching to digital and companies merging and it kind of being a risk averse environment for TV projects. What do you does that affect you at all? What do you see in the future? How do you navigate through this sort of tricky time? That was a lot of questions all at once.
I'm here for it. I look, our offices are over 2 floors in Santa Monica, and you take that back stairway up and down all day. And the back stairway is, the walls are covered with posters of shows that are not, and I don't mean the shows themselves, I mean the formats, the type of shows. Those shows are not on TV anymore. Like, shows like that are not on TV anymore. The shows that built the company that we all work at, that has, built this platform and made all these different types of projects, like the shows that got us there, there's no home for them on TV anymore. So for me, I think our job is twofold. Number one, acknowledge that and develop things that are on TV now, and develop things that people want from us, right? You come up with a show, Sean, that you want to pitch tomorrow. Maybe they'll buy it from you and they wouldn't buy it from us. Maybe they'll buy it from us and they wouldn't buy it from you, and vice versa. But what they want to buy from us and the shows that they want to put on the air, that's a focus of ours. And then at the same time, you want to say, okay, these shows do not belong on TV anymore, but we have to figure out how to make content for those audiences who want that show, right? Like, these are shows that brought in 1 to 2, maybe even 3 million eyeballs to watch them. People loved these shows. People watch them. People talk to me about them in the street. Like people coming up to me in the street, but my kid's friend's birthday party, more appropriately.
Right.
When I say the street, I mean like a bowling alley.
And are you talking about like the big shows that are on TV, like dating shows and competition
I'm saying
reality
the
shows?
shows that we made.
The
I'm
show
saying
that you
like
made. Okay.
the shows that we made, that there are no shows like that on TV anymore. Home Game, which was a series on Netflix. It's still there. You should watch it. It's awesome. Each episode is a different cultural sporting event around the world. Those shows are not on TV anymore. The Goop Lab with Gwyneth Paltrow, very fancy. 2 seasons. We did the Goop Lab, then we did Sex, Love, and Goop. Each episode is about a different sort of like goopy topic, to make it sound silly, but very proud of that show. There are no shows like that on TV, on streamers anymore. The Playbook, we did that show. LeBron James is an executive producer of that show with us. Each episode is a different coach imparting their philosophies of leadership and life. Action was a show we did about sports gamblers in Vegas around football season. Those are not TV shows anymore. They're just not. At least they're not shows that people want to buy from Boardwalk. And in a world where there's a limited amount of slots, and Boardwalk is going to, if we are lucky enough to get 3 shows at Netflix, we're not going to get 6. So those 3 shows better be the biggest projects possible. And so I can't spend time developing Home Game or the Playbook or, these other types of shows. And so again, what are the shows, what are the opportunities that we're going to present to big streamers so that they are big mainstream entertainment shows? And then how do we connect with the audiences that loved our 1 to 3 million eyeball shows, and how do we find those audiences where they are? That could be digital first, that could be any number of different ways, that could be experiential, that can be different storytelling for different audiences, but that's the conversation we're having.
Yeah. Paul America, is that coming back for more?
It's not.
It's not. Wow. Okay.
No. So Paul American was a big experiment that we did, and
Yeah.
storytelling with Jake and Logan Paul and their families is wild, and I hope that we'll do more storytelling with them on other shows, and there's a lot of lessons learned from that. But Paul American, with its launch in Times Square and billboards on the sides of buildings, and Jake and Logan's social media platform and presence and activation and everything, and not even to mention the fact that the show was, in my humble opinion, excellent.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
Michael John Warren directed that.
Yeah.
Mike,
Oh, yeah.
Jen, and
Yeah.
and that show, I think, is excellent.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It did not pull the audience that it needed to pull to come back.
Just at the Unscripted Summit, and the whole TV community seems to be like, oh, we gotta collaborate with influencers, But I feel like, watching from the outside, outside watching in, I feel like the TV companies need the creators more than the creators need the TV companies.
The creators don't need the TV companies.
That's what I mean. I just don't think that at all. And that's kind of the message they kept spewing at this thing. Like, oh, let's partner. Like, these creators don't need us. Like, we really need them more than they need us.
No, I think that, there's something to be said for people and brands as they mature, and the different sort of legitimate benchmarks they need to like checkpoints they need to satisfy along the way. Right. Like when we were making that show and we thought it was going to be a big hit, I was far more, I thought the alchemy of that was that these men now have formidable women in their lives. Right. And like, it's one thing to be making videos in the backyard, no matter how much money you're making, no matter how much of a cultural impact you're making. It's different when like corporations are sending you money and you're on TV and there's something like official about it. And when, these women that they're marrying or have married are impressive. And so I thought that was as much about like, why do these guys want to all of a sudden be on like such a traditional network? It's like, well, when one of your wives is on the cover of Sports Illustrated and the other one is winning Olympic medals, like, you're trying to impress them. That's what drives that's what drives us all, is trying to impress the person that we want the attention of, I think.
Yeah.
And that could be Netflix too.
Well, sure. Again, like, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if that show had been on Netflix, had it drawn a different audience. Would it have drawn a different audience?
Yeah.
But,
Just because he's got all the fights, MVP does all their fights, it feels like, on Netflix, right? So.
And I would say it's more just the power of Netflix. I loved making Paul American with HBO. The executives there were awesome. The marketing team was great. The release strategy, everything we did. Sign me up for season 2, man. I loved it. What a great experience. But it did not draw the audience that they needed to do more. It did not work on the platform in the way that it needed to work. And the power of Netflix, again, like when you launch a show on Netflix and it catches on, there's little like it.
Wow.
There's not much else like it.
Do these
companies now? I was going to ask, do companies nowadays, do you get like first look deals? Like, does Boardwalk have a first look deal at a certain place, or are they doing that in the unscripted space?
Uh, People have those. We do not. We've wanted to stay independent for as long as possible. But I think it's getting harder and harder to do that. Yeah.
But do you think that, the HBO places, like HBO or these, like, do they even have the viewers that Netflix has? So, like, is it even the same conversation? Like, can it
Again, that's why I sort of express it the way I do. Like, I don't know what success from a number standpoint is for them. And I don't want to assume that success for this show is the same as success for that show. They spent an amount of money on it. They need to get a certain return on that money. Yeah, I can't imagine that the audience size from a raw number standpoint resembles a Netflix show at all, right? It's just a different platform with a different subscriber base. But whatever they needed for it to be a huge success for them, it was not. And I take that seriously and personally, right? Like, I want to give them what they need so that we could do this for 10 years and everybody looks great to their bosses. And, you're just figuring it out season one. It's always heartbreaking when you don't get a season two, because it's like, oh, we just figured it out. Like, we just figured out how to make it. Um, but yeah, hopefully we'll have another swing with them on something and with Jake and Logan on something. But Paul American not coming back.
I was looking forward to season 2, man. You can't get
I
that
could
back?
tell you, I could tell you all the fun things that are happening, but no, it's, and keep in mind, like, we had wedding proposals and weddings in Lake Como and bachelor parties, and
Yeah,
there was a whole lot to populate season 2 with,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it just didn't make sense for them.
Is Boardwalk ever, and maybe you have this, create a channel, say on YouTube or a fast channel, and it's just the Boardwalk channel, and you just make your own content, doesn't go to any streamers, you own it all, it's your thing. Is that something possibly down the pipeline for you if you're not already doing it?
I don't think it's something that right now we have discussions around doing as like a Boardwalk branded thing. I think we're far more interested in doing that, like with a thesis and a theme and a like strategy behind launching a channel. But the Boardwalk channel, we make stuff with partners.
Yeah.
People commission work for us. Our shows are not scrappy necessarily. And so we're trying to pitch big opportunities to partners and trying to get them to, support us in making those things. But yes, to what I was saying earlier, we have to meet our audiences where they are. We want to keep telling those types of stories. And so it is incumbent upon us to figure out how to tell them and meet the audiences for those shows where they can be met.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like perhaps the play would be to, do what we did at Radical Media and just get the brand to sponsor the show. And then you can, team up and have your own thing going on. I mean, I always loved branded content. The experiences that I've had, with Toyota and the car companies that we did at Radical Media, they stayed out of the way and they let us tell the stories, and I was it was fun, and we had money, and we could do great stories, and they just kind of let us do our thing. That was my experience. I don't know if that's every
No, and
branding experience.
we do a ton of work with brands. We have a whole brand storytelling division at Boardwalk, and we do a ton of that stuff. And yeah, it's just, I think there's an inherent tension where even just as you're describing what a great experience it was, you're talking about them having nothing to do with it.
That's
And so it
right.
was a great experience. It was a great experience for you, but like, what makes it a great experience for them is if they got what they need. Now, maybe that was a very well produced project and they didn't need to utter a peep to get everything that they needed, right? You set out, what does a win look like for you? What's a win look like for you? Let's solve for that. That's wonderful. Um,
Yeah, like I was on the Baja Two Roads to Baja, and it was,
Hmm.
for Speed Channel. I don't know if you remember that one, but,
Yeah, of course.
sponsored by Toyota, and we were doing the Baja 1000, and, we're in the FJ Cruiser for 36 hours straight, and at the last minute, they're like, "Oh, the Toyota guy is gonna be in your car with you the whole time," and I was like, "What?" Like, "You've gotta be kidding me." The client is in my car while we're filming for 36 hours, you've got to be kidding me. And I was horrified, and I just thought, "This is gonna be the worst 36 hours of my life." Anyway, this guy comes in, Bill, and he's like and I kinda side eye him, and he's like, "Listen," he's like, I'm here to support you." He's like, "You're the pro. You do your job. You just make Toyota look cool and we're good." And I was like, "Okay, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
This is gonna be great." And then he like pinch hit and drove the car because the driver we turned out was blind in one eye. It was like the
What?
craziest story. But he was wonderful and he let me do my thing and did not get in my way, and it was a great 36 hours of my life.
I think, look, and those projects exist, and we've done them, right? We did docs about when Pepsi was sponsoring the Super Bowl halftime show. Boardwalk, we produced 2 docs in successive years about the making of those halftime shows. Nadia Hallgren directed one, Michael John Warren directed another, and oh, sorry, Michael John Warren didn't direct one of those. Eric Parker directed one of those. In any case, um, we love that stuff, and I think Pepsi got everything that they needed from that. And the reality is, this is me. I don't know if this is true, but this is just my thesis on it. Is that these streamers now are such big organizations with sort of limited resources. Not that they're limited resources, like obviously Netflix has a ton of money, Disney has a ton of money, but if they're making a project and they're going to release it on their calendar, they're going to give creative notes on, and then they're going to strategize other projects alongside it. When should we release this one versus when we should release that one? They're going to take up real estate on the page, right? That home page is like a billboard. So they're going to take up real estate on the page. If they want it, they want it. If they don't want it, there's nothing you could do. They don't want it for free. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they're
Yeah.
excited about it, they're
Yeah.
excited about it.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't, if they're not excited about it, giving to them for free does not excite them. It just, they still have to do a lot of work around something now that they're not excited about. And by the way, I think Netflix is right in saying our platform is a brand accelerator. Look at what happened after Drive to Survive with
Right. Sure.
F1.
Yeah.
So look at what happens, the impact of all of these brands and leagues having shows. I think Forbes magazine said the value of America's Sweethearts is like $60 million in valuation
Whoa.
to the Dallas Cowboys a year, right? So like the power of Netflix is such that, again, I'm just saying Netflix, but maybe all the platforms that, like, yeah, if you're ABC is a confusing one. If you're XYZ company and you walk in the door and you want to pay for something, it's like, yeah, let's talk about who's paying for it afterwards. Let's start with like, is it cool? Do I want it? And then if I want it, I don't want you in the room while I'm making it. So I don't want your
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So it's now
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying around the inherent tension of it all. That said, like, we have great partnerships when we work with a brand and we say, what is it that you want from this? And then we talk to networks and say, what does a win look like for you? And we've had great wins. We just did a series with Mazda on Amazon, that Prime Video, that called First to the Finish, that is a huge success for us. And those Pepsi docs that we did were really great successes for us. And we have more and more of those things coming. But it takes the initial conceit of it, where everybody's excited about it anyway, and then you can get into like, the brands and them staying out of the way or not.
Yeah. 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 It just feels like everybody thinks it's an automatic win. You get a brand, it's a win. It's, yeah, I don't, yeah.
Do I want this show? right? Like, let me pitch you something that you don't want. Not because you hate it, but because it's just not for you.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I don't want to buy that. Or in anything, right? Like, go to this clothing store and try on a sweater that you don't like. I do not look good in this sweater. I do not like this sweater. I am not going to wear this sweater. And then the store says, well, you can have it for free. Your reaction's probably like, I don't like it. Right? Like, I don't want to wear it.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously trying to be funny, but
I
like,
love
it's
it.
a little bit of that. And so as a creative or as a producer, yes, brand storytelling is going to be a huge part of what we do. And brands and the money that they put into the ecosystem is going to be a huge part of how this industry continues to survive and thrive. But it is still our responsibility to create opportunities that people are excited about, not that they're willing to deal with because someone else is paying for it.
Well said. That was perfectly said, because you can
Thank
never
you.
you can't compromise the story and the greatness of the story just because it's maybe has some money
We
behind it.
try.
It still
We
has to be
try.
great.
Could you imagine if McDonald's sponsored American Sweetheart? Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders, DCC?
Well,
That's a lot of
but
that's a lot of iconic things going on.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is America's Sweethearts not already brand storytelling? Like,
Oh,
we don't get
it is.
money from the
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah.
there's a brand there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's the entry point for it. Is the Boston Red Sox series not brand storytelling? Is there not a brand there? Paul American, there's a brand everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just the role of the brand and how main a character they are.
Winning is a brand.
Well, Charlie Sheen, like,
Yeah.
I wish Charlie Sheen had told me that he was going to be launching a non-alcoholic beer brand right after we had our movie.
Oh.
Because, like, I mean, no, I'm just kidding. But
Is he really doing
but
that?
yeah,
Is he really
oh
doing?
yeah,
Oh,
oh yeah.
that's smart.
Jen's got
And
a beer brand.
Oh yeah.
who does?
I'm
Jen
launching
does.
a beer
Jen,
brand. Yeah. I'm
you're
working on it.
launching a beer brand. Well, you should talk to Charlie Sheen.
I should.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, is Charlie Sheen not a brand?
Oh,
I would
100%.
say that
Yeah.
you could do an analysis of where his brand was a month ago and where his brand is now.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
for sure. Well, can you talk about any new projects on the slate, or is it all on the down low, on the trade
it's
mags?
well, I'll say this, that we don't do a ton of announcing our series now because you do advertising for them once they're available. Like, even Netflix doesn't do a ton of advertising until it's available on the service. And so we are shooting another season of America's Sweethearts. That is exciting. And we are definitely shooting lots of things that will also be exciting to you, I hope. And
Yay.
developing lots of things that will also be exciting. It's funny, I had done a podcast around our show Fit for TV, which we did, which was a big hit for us on Netflix.
Mhm.
And I did it the day before the Charlie Sheen trailer dropped.
Oh,
And so I
wow.
was sitting with this woman on the podcast, and afterwards I go, you are going to be so pissed that we did this today and not tomorrow. And then I got a text from her the next day. She's like, oh my God. But yeah, so there's no trailer dropping tomorrow. I can assure you of that.
Thank you,
But
Andrew. Thank you.
yeah, but we're working on stuff, and you'll be the first to know.
Well, I am a fan of basically all of your shows, and I'm not just saying that
Thank
because
you.
you're my friend. I genuinely love all the work you do. Obviously, there's great leadership behind these shows, amazing directors, and everything is thought out, and just you're committed to telling a great story, and that's why the shows end up being great.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate that. I've loved talking to you guys today.
I know.
Yeah.
This is so fun.
Yeah, great.
We'll have to have you back when you launch your new secret shows.
When the new secret shows launch, you'll have to have me back. All right. Well, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Have me back soon, and we'll talk about more stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, can't wait.
Sounds good.
Okay.